October 1988. Still in California. Still serving in the Air Force, protecting our country, and preparing for Halloween, of course, because it's October in 1988. And what else are you going to do? All right, so let's get to the books I read. I know it's been a while, but if you recall, the last video, September, I ended September with the first two books by John Skipp and Craig Spector, The Light at the End and The Cleanup. And so I started October of 1988 with The Scream by John Skipp and Craig Spector. And again, I've talked about this before. Mine has I don't want to mess up my book, but it's got the little fold-out poster and everything. Vietnam veterans, rock and roll bands, Satanism, demons. It's John Skipp and Craig Spector. It's great stuff. If you've never read anything by them, you should. You're missing out if you're a horror fan. And The Scream is a good one. It's, in my opinion, not as good as their first two, but it's still a fantastic book. I mean, that's like saying a little bit of gold isn't as good as a little bit more bit of gold. Well, sure, it's still gold, though. I guess I could have just said money. I don't know what gold is worth anymore. But anyway, I'm not disparaging The Scream by saying it's not as good as the others. Does that make sense? Well, let's get to something that isn't as good, in my opinion. And that is the second book I read in October of 1988, The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger by Stephen King. I was very excited for this book. I was still a pretty big Stephen King fan at the time. And horror and Western sounded great to me. But I don't know, I was disappointed. It's been a long time, obviously. I think I was just bored with this book. And I've had plenty of people tell me, you got to get through the first couple in the Dark Tower series, and then it takes off. I've never bothered to read any of the others. Maybe someday I'll give them a try. This book, I believe, will not appear on this list again, even though I did try to read it a second time and didn't even finish it the second time. I was like, nope, not going to waste my time. But does anybody not know what The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger is? It's, I think, Roland being pursued by the Man in Black. It's the beginning of a giant epic that Stephen King wrote. I don't remember too much about it. Because it's been a long time, and it did not thrill me. But next up, we're changing things up quite a bit. Book number 3, Trace, Pigs Get Fat by Warren Murphy. The last, perhaps, in the Trace series. It's the last one I have. And this is Devlin Tracy, insurance investigator. And it's got, there's a guy named Thomas Collins who's big in real estate and even bigger in his sex life. He'll sleep with anything he can, any woman. I shouldn't say anything because that implies men, women, animals. Women. He's into the women, and he's got his wife, and he's sleeping with his secretary, and I guess he has a regular sex worker on his payroll, and he's into his stepdaughter. He disappears. There's an insurance policy the company doesn't want to pay out, and so they send Devlin Tracy out to investigate. And I think it's just a typical fun Devlin Tracy mystery. Trace is a great character. They're a lot of fun. It would be nice if there were more of these, but I enjoy them. Let's see. Next we have The Hand of Cain by Robert E. Howard. And this is 4. I had to write these down because I don't have a copy of this, unfortunately, at the moment. 4 Solomon Kane short stories. Of course, everybody in the world, I'm not even going to qualify that. I'm going to say every single person in the world knows that Robert Howard is the creator of Conan. I happen to like Solomon Kane better. I love Conan. I've got tons of the novels. I got lots of the comic books and stuff. I got a board game. But I like Solomon Kane better, the Puritan hero. So this book has, according to, I had to look it up because I don't have a copy, but it has the stories The Hills of the Dead, Hawk of Basti, Wings in the Night, and The Children of Ashur or Ashur. I'm not sure how you say it. I love the character of Solomon Kane. I love the look of him in his Puritan garb, and he uses a sword and flintlock pistols, and he just travels the world, getting into crazy scrapes, fighting monsters and things. And this is, again, I'm not sure what the longest Solomon Kane story is by Howard. I think they're all just short stories, stuff that appeared in the old pulp magazines. So this is just a collection of those. And there is some continuity between the stories. Something he may pick up in one story still appears in later stories, and, characters and all that. But Solomon Kane, good stuff. If you like pulp adventure, I love the character of Solomon Kane. Next up, we have Contact by A.F.N. Clarke, which is a nonfiction book. It's not the Contact you were probably thinking of when you first heard that title. This is actually a memoir of a former British soldier who served, I made a little note here, I don't know why, 2 tours in Northern Ireland. And this is about his experiences and about being in war. And after, I think I've talked about in previous videos, A Prayer for the Dying by Jack Higgins, one of my favorite books. And after reading that, it piqued my interest in the conflict in Northern Ireland. So when I would come across books about that subject, I would pick them up. And this is one, obviously. I think it's a very, very interesting book. It's, I remember just being shocked by some of the things I read. And according to what I looked up, because here's the thing, when I looked at the title, I was like, I'm not sure what this is. It was made into a miniseries on BBC, and possibly an award-winning miniseries. It was originally serialized, I believe, in the paper before it was released as a book. But if you're interested in, again, the conflict in Northern Ireland, if you're interested in a soldier's perspective of things, it's I think typically, I could be completely wrong, but when people, I could be going way out on a limb here, but I would think that when people are reading this sort of thing, a soldier's story kind of thing, it's either generally Vietnam or the Middle East. Obviously more modern stories, not fiction, but the stories of soldiers. The more modern stories are going to be coming from the Middle East and that area. Vietnam, a very popular subject. It's a weird way to put that, but you know what I'm saying. And I do know people still, there's lots of people reading about World War II, World War I, all that, all those other things. I think, based on nothing but the people I talk to, that Vietnam, Middle East. So this is a different perspective. So anyway, I'm really sort of rambling. Contact, A.F.N. Clarke, a nonfiction book that was very, very good. Very interesting. And then finally, not a lot of books. 6 books in October 1988. Finally, an author's name I'm not sure how to pronounce, but the book is The Devil's Game by Poul Anderson. It's Poul. So I'm not sure how you say that. This is a really interesting book, and I can specifically remember picking this up at Booksellers on Griswold Road in Elyria, Ohio, one of the greatest used bookstores I've ever been to. Absolutely loved that place. But The Devil's Game is about seven people who desperately need money, and they're all invited to this island to participate in a contest, and the winner will win $1 million tax-free. And all they have to do, each person is given 24 hours to come up with a set of challenges or contests or whatever you want that everybody has to complete. If you can't complete it, then you're out. And they all have to be something that the other contestants are physically able to do. I believe that's sort of the condition of it. And but the person who invited them to the island is working for a dark, mysterious being. That part I was never too clear on. But I loved the contests that these people came up with. And it was, it's interesting to see what people will and won't do. One that I specifically remember, without giving too much away, is they were all physically capable of swimming a mile from this boat. I think it's a mile from this boat to the shore in shark-infested waters. So that's the thing. Physically, they could all just make the swim, but mentally, are they going to be able to do it? And, maybe they'll get attacked by sharks. Who knows? So that was a contest that one of the people came up with. They're like, yeah, we'll all just swim from point A to point B in these shark-infested waters. You could say no, but then you're out of the contest. So there were all sorts of different things that the different people came up with. And you see how desperate, or how much, I hate to say desperate, but I suppose it's appropriate, how much some of these people really needed the money. And this book is going to show up again on the list. I know I've read it at least one other time. Anyway, that's it for October of 1988. Like I said, just 6 books, all pretty good. All authors the A.F.N. Clarke, I think that's the only thing I ever read by him, the nonfiction book. But the rest, authors I like. John Skipp and Craig Spector. Love those guys. Stephen King. I kind of fell out of love with him for a while. Now I'm back in love with him again. I like Warren Murphy's stuff. So, and Robert E. Howard, Solomon Kane. I think I made my feelings on him pretty clear. All right, so that's it for October of 1988. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to follow me on social media, my Twitter is at Ronan5757. My Instagram is Eric Smith 5757. I think it's 257s. I don't know. But that's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. Yeah, that sounds right. All right. That's all I got this time. So until next time, read more books.